Have you ever felt like you only know a fraction of the Bible stories, as if the tales everyone talks about are just the tip of a much deeper, richer iceberg? What we've been told are the main events often leave out extraordinary narratives that are filled with courage, wisdom, and lessons that are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Many of these stories have been hidden in plain sight, overlooked or forgotten, and they reveal a side of the Bible that few people ever get to explore. Today we're diving into 5 of these lesser known stories, each one powerful, mysterious, and in some cases, utterly shocking. These are stories of women whose bravery and faith have been overshadowed, of figures whose actions changed the course of events, and of moments in history that are haunting, inspiring, and unforgettable all at once. Some of these tales challenge the familiar narratives, showing us human courage, moral dilemmas, and resilience in ways we might never have imagined. You will meet Jael, a woman whose unexpected act of courage altered the fate of her people, and Huldah, a prophetess whose words shaped the direction of an entire nation. You'll encounter the tragic story of the Levite's concubine, a tale that forces us to confront dark truths about human nature, and Rizpah, a mother whose unwavering devotion has resonated through history as a symbol of fierce love and resilience. Finally, you'll meet Anna, the quiet prophetess whose recognition of the Messiah reminds us that even the most overlooked voices can witness history in the making. By the end of this journey, these stories will no longer be hidden. They will live in your mind, revealing lessons about faith, courage, and the extraordinary individuals whose lives have been almost erased from memory. Jael's story is one of the most striking and daring moments in the Bible, yet it is often overlooked in discussions of heroism and courage. She appears in the book of Judges, a time of turmoil and conflict in Israel, when the people were constantly threatened by invading forces. Jael was not a warrior under the traditional sense. She was a woman living in a tent, seemingly ordinary, yet her actions would turn her into one of the most unlikely heroes of biblical history. When the enemy general Sisera fled from the battlefield after being defeated by the Israelites, he sought refuge in Jael's tent, believing it to be a safe place. What he did not know was that Jael possessed extraordinary courage and strategic intelligence. Instead of remaining passive or hiding, she seized the moment, welcoming him into her tent under the guise of hospitality. Once he fell asleep, Jael took a tent peg and a hammer and struck him, ending the life of a powerful enemy and securing a pivotal victory for her people. This act, shocking in its boldness and precision, challenges traditional notions of heroism, showing that courage does not always come in the form of armies or swords, but sometimes through cunning, determination, and the willingness to act decisively when the moment demands it. Jael's story also forces us to reconsider how we measure influence and impact. Despite her vital role in securing Israel's survival, her name is rarely celebrated outside the passages of Judges, overshadowed by more prominent figures. Yet her bravery stands as a testament to the unexpected ways individuals, especially women in a patriarchal society, can shape history. Her actions are remembered not just for their immediate effect, but for the moral and emotional resonance they carry, highlighting the complex interplay between courage, morality, and survival. Jael reminds us that even those living quietly in the margins of society can alter the course of events with the decisive, courageous action. Huldah is a figure whose influence in biblical history is profound, yet her story is rarely highlighted despite its significance. She lived during the reign of King Josiah, a time when the kingdom of Judah was in moral and spiritual crisis, and many had turned away from the laws and teachings that once guided them. It was during this critical period that a scroll of the law was discovered in the temple, a document containing instructions and commandments that had been largely ignored for generations. The discovery created alarm and uncertainty. for no one knew how seriously the people should take it or how to respond to its urgent message. It was then that Huldah, a prophetess living in Jerusalem, was consulted. Unlike the male prophets whose names dominate the biblical narrative, Huldah's counsel carried the authority of God's voice at a pivotal moment in history. When the officials approached her, she did not hesitate. She delivered a message that was both clear and unsettling, affirming the seriousness of the nation's transgressions, while also offering hope that sincere repentance could restore favor and guidance. Huldah's wisdom and spiritual authority helped Josiah implement sweeping reforms, reshaping the religious life of the kingdom and preventing further moral decay. Her story is remarkable not only because of the critical moment she influenced, but also because it shows a woman commanding respect and authority in a patriarchal society, speaking truth to power with unwavering confidence. Huldah demonstrates that leadership is not always about holding political office or wielding armies, but sometimes about speaking courageously and truthfully when it matters most. Her story reminds us that quiet strength, insight, and devotion can have lasting effects on generations, and that even voices often overlooked by history can become instruments of monumental change. The story of the Levite's concubine is one of the darkest and most haunting narratives in the Bible, a tale that many avoid discussing because of its grim and unsettling nature, yet it carries profound lessons about morality, justice, and the consequences of human cruelty. It takes place during a chaotic period in Israel's history, when there was no king in Israel, and the nation struggled with lawlessness and disorder. A Levite man and his concubine were traveling when they sought shelter for the night in the city of Gibeah, only to be met with horrific violence. Men of the city surrounded the house, demanding the Levite be handed over, and when he refused, they turned their rage on his concubine, committing unspeakable acts that resulted in her death. This tragedy was more than a personal loss. It sparked outrage throughout Israel, exposing the moral decay that had taken hold of the people and the dangers of a society without accountability or leadership. The Levite's response, cutting his concubine's body into 12 pieces and sending them throughout the territories of Israel, was a shocking call to action, a desperate attempt to awaken the nation to its collective responsibility and demand justice. While the story is deeply disturbing, it also serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of apathy, the vulnerability of the marginalized, and the importance of moral courage in confronting wrongdoing. The concubine, whose voice is lost in the narrative, reminds us of the countless individuals whose suffering is overlooked and forgotten, yet whose experiences carry lessons that reverberate through time. This story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about humanity, emphasizing that faith and devotion alone are not enough. Action, justice, and compassion must accompany belief. Despite its darkness, it is a story that challenges us to reflect on ethics, responsibility, and the impact of societal decay, making it a vital yet overlooked narrative in the Bible's complex tapestry of human experience. Rizpah's story is one of quiet, relentless courage, a tale of a mother's love that refuses to be silenced even in the face of immense tragedy. She was a concubine of King Saul, living in a time when political power and violence intertwined with everyday life, and her sons were tragically executed by the orders of the new king, David, as part of a large act of retribution meant to honor Saul and his fallen house. Most would have accepted the deaths in sorrow, retreating into grief. But Rizpah could not remain passive. Instead, she took it upon herself to vigilantly protect the bodies of her sons from wild animals and birds, stretching a cloth over the rocky hillside where they were laid, sitting through the days and nights under the scorching sun and freezing winds. Her act was not only one of maternal devotion, but also a profound statement of resistance and dignity in the face of injustice, a refusal to allow her sons to be forgotten or desecrated. news of her unwavering vigilance reached King David, who was moved by the depth of her devotion, prompting him to finally provide a proper burial for Saul's house, including her sons. Rizpah's story, though often overlooked, resonates with a timeless message about the power of steadfastness, the moral force of personal courage, and the profound impact of one individual's determination. It reminds us that heroism does not always arrive with grand gestures or battlefield victories. Sometimes it is found in quiet persistence, in the unyielding defense of what is right, and in the love that refuses to yield to despair. Rizpah's vigilance ensured that her sons would not be erased from memory, and through her, we are reminded that even those living on the margins of history can inspire lasting change and demand recognition for justice and humanity. Anna's story is one of quiet devotion and unwavering faith, a narrative that often goes unnoticed despite her pivotal role in recognizing the Messiah. She was an elderly widow who spent decades in the temple, fasting and praying day and night, fully dedicating her life to spiritual service. Unlike the more dramatic stories of battles or prophecies that shaped nations, Anna's influence was subtle yet profoundly impactful. When Mary and Joseph brought the infant Jesus to the temple in accordance with the law, Anna was present, and it was she who immediately recognized him as the promised Savior. In that moment, her years of devotion culminated in an act of spiritual insight as she praised God and spoke to all who were waiting for redemption. Anna's story highlights the power of patient faith and quiet persistence, showing that devotion does not always need to be public or celebrated to be significant. Her recognition of Jesus was not accompanied by grandeur or political influence, yet it marked a critical moment in the unfolding of biblical history, validating the anticipation of the faithful and linking generations of belief to the arrival of the Messiah. Anna's life reminds us that the voices often overlooked in society, those who serve faithfully behind the scenes, can bear witness to history's most transformative events. Her unwavering presence, patience, and discernment exemplify the extraordinary impact of consistent faith and silent vigilance, proving that devotion, even when unseen, has the power to illuminate profound truths and inspire others. In a world that often rewards visibility and loud achievement, Anna's story stands as a testament to the enduring strength of quiet, faithful perseverance. These hidden stories of the Bible reveal a side of history that is often overlooked, a tapestry of courage, faith, and resilience that challenges the familiar narratives we think we know. From Jael, whose daring act changed the fate of her people, to Huldah, whose prophetic wisdom shaped a nation, and the tragic Levite concubine, whose story forces us to confront the darker aspects of humanity. Each narrative holds lessons that are as powerful as they are unexpected. Rizpah's relentless vigil reminds us of the strength of love and the courage to stand against injustice, while Anna's quiet devotion shows that patience, faith, and perseverance can bear witness to life-altering truths. These stories invite us to look beyond the surface, to uncover the voices that history has almost forgotten, and to recognize the extraordinary impact of individuals whose courage, insight, and faith have shaped the world in ways that often go unnoticed. They teach us that heroism is not only found on battlefields or in public accolades, but also in acts of wisdom, devotion, and moral courage that ripple through time. By revisiting these untold narratives, we honor the hidden figures of the Bible, remembering that even in the margins of history, their actions carry profound significance. Their stories challenge us, inspire us, and remind us that every voice matters, every act of courage leaves a mark, and even the quietest lives can influence the course of history. If these hidden stories have inspired you, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, so you can continue uncovering the untold tales that history has almost forgotten.